Greetings, my YouTube friends and all the newcomers. It is so nice that you've taken time out of your day to spend some time with me. I'm Michael Romeo, and I talk about books. And it is a wonderful thing talking about books. I love it, I love it, I love it. And right now I'm continuing my bookshelf tour. This is still Bookcase 1. Shelf 4? I think this is shelf 4. I could be wrong, but I think it's shelf 4. And this is like opening Christmas presents because these are books that have been in boxes because I had nowhere to put them. And finally came up with a solution to getting them up and out in the world. And there's books I forgot I had. Books I've been saying I want to read and didn't realize I had. And this is just a delightful time. And I hope you all share it with me because it's exciting. It's wonderful. It's like having new books. And let's see. I got two piles here, one on either side of the camera. Which side should I start with? I guess I'll start with the right side. Is that right? Am I right? That's my right. Yeah. Okay. Me and directions. Starting out with one of the best books ever written, and I say that without pause. Almost everybody I know who has read it has loved it, and nobody I know has disliked it. It is Lonesome Dove. It is, yeah, it's the right side up. Okay, so a second there, it looked like it was upside down. Lonesome Dove, and this book is just incredible. It is not just a Western. Yes, it's a Western, but it is not just a Western. It's literature. It is historical literature about the last days of the Wild West. And it centers on a couple of old guys who are former Texas Rangers who decide they're going to lead a cattle drive from Mexico. They go to Mexico to steal the cattle. And they go from Mexico to Montana. I think it's Montana. If it's not Montana, it's one of those states up there at the Canadian border. And that's a long trip, especially on horseback. And there's all kinds of things they run into. But the most amazing thing about the book is the relationships between the characters. Some wonderful characters, wonderful relationships. And it's a beautiful book. And if you haven't read it, you've got to read it, really. Even if you think you don't like Westerns, this is just a great book. And coming up behind it is one I haven't read, but is a companion, is Comanche Moon. There were 3 spin-off books from Lonesome Dove. The only one of the spin-offs I've read is Dead Man's Walk. And that was a good one. I enjoyed it. But I've got Comanche Moon, and I've got Streets of Laredo. I think Streets of Laredo was on a previous shelf. So I think one of these days, gosh, the books I have to read. How do I plan things? Because it seems like I plan so much. I would like to do these 3, read Lonesome Dove again, then read Comanche Moon and Streets of Laredo. And it could happen. I could actually do it. We'll see. Where am I going to put these? Small table. Next up are 3 books by one of my all-time favorite authors. She's a British author, and she has written some amazing books. She started out writing gothic horror, gothic suspense, and then she segued into multi-generational sagas, and then she ran into doing a series on the Church of England, which I think we've already looked at a couple of those in the previous videos. But here are some of her historical books. First one up is Sins of the Fathers. This is a book that is a sequel to another one of hers called The Rich Are Different, which I have on my tablet. The Rich Are Different is the framework for that story is the life of Cleopatra, and it's now, and she takes it and sets it in the 1920s with the Wall Street crash. That's what she does with her historical book. She picks a historical character, moves it to another time period, and builds this fictional story around similar events in the lives of these people. I don't remember if Sins of the Father continues the Cleopatra theme or not. I read it long time ago. I can even see myself sitting at work when I was working a night audit shift, and fighting to keep my eyes open to read another chapter because I partied too hard and shouldn't have been as tired as I was. But I remember, like, I gotta read this. I gotta find out what happens next. She's a wonderful writer, Susan Howich. I don't think I said her name earlier, but you can read Susan Howich. And then another one of hers that is a wonderful book is Cashel Mara. And this was her second of the historical novels. And I'm trying to remember who this one is based on. Edward the First. It's based on Edward the First, but it is changed to the late 19th century. And it's just fun the way she does that. And it is a great book. I reread this one, just a couple of years ago. I read it for the second time. And it's a wonderful story. It just sweeps you away into another time and place, which I love about chunkers. And this is a chunker, 672 pages. I love being swept away into another time and place. So much so that, you know the characters. You're right there in the room with them. And you want to help the ones that need help, and you want to smack the ones that don't need help. But she's just again a phenomenal writer, and this is one of her. It's actually the first of her Church of England books. It's called Glittering Images. I don't know if you can see that. The lighting is kind of weird. What are you growling at, Trappist? Hey. Glittering Images. And it is a wonderful story about a young Episcopal priest who becomes enamored of a lady that crosses his path, and the affair that they end up having. It's a great book, great story, great exploration of morality and what's moral, what's not moral, who gets to say that what is what, and again, great book. And then we have two parts of a trilogy. The third one is on my shelves. I don't know if we've gone through it already or if it's coming up. I didn't have time to really look for it, but Morris West wrote what's known as the Papal Trilogy. And these are 3 novels, standalone novels, but their common theme is the papacy. And it is just a wonderful trilogy to read. The first one, and this is a beat up copy too, but it's still wonderful, is The Shoes of the Fisherman. Great story about the first Russian Pope. And this is, of course, set during the Iron Curtain years. And what happens when a Russian cardinal is voted into being Pope. And he has some rather radical ideas about what needs to change in the papacy. And it's a page turner, absolute page turner. Loved it each time I've read it. And then here's the third book in the trilogy, and it's Lazarus, also by Morris West. And it's about a pope that suffers a very bad heart attack. There's a name for it though. Lazarus opens His Holiness Leo, the Vicar of Christ, is doubly threatened with death. He is suffering from cardiac disease that requires open heart surgery, and he has been targeted for assassination by a terrorist group, the Sword of Islam. So, double whammy there. Another edge of the seat book. The third one, which we'll come across it sometime if we haven't come across it already, is called The Clowns of God. And that is a riveting novel about a pope who believes he has received a prophecy about the second coming of Christ and when it's going to be. And the turmoil that creates. Great book. These are all great books. Morris West is a wonderful writer. Then we move on to one of my darling, beloved books. This comes from college. It's called Points of View. And there's some stories in here. It's full of short stories, is all it is. It's short stories. And they're wonderful short stories, and I loved them. I read all of them, and they are absolutely wonderful. I don't think there's a bad one in it. So, when I presented this book, because I had another copy of it when I couldn't find this one, read by Fred, decided he wanted to get it. And then when he got it and showed it in one of his videos, it was a different edition, and I didn't know they had done another edition. And I was like, why did they mess with it? Why you don't fix something that's not broken? And I got a little irritated that they messed with one of my beloved books. And it had been a while since I read it. I mean, I read it in college, and I read it probably another 5 or 6 years after that. So I started reading it again. And didn't take long for me to realize, oh, that's why they've brought out a new edition. Because some of these stories, though they are absolutely brilliantly written, contain some savage racism and some pretty dire sexism. So it made sense, I guess, to update it to make it relevant to today's audiences, today's short story readers. I don't deny that the stories in here are wonderfully written. They are all wonderfully written. But they were written in a time, and in my case, read in the time. My whole class read this in the time when racism wasn't so sharp on the radar. And I mean, of course, we had the civil rights movement, but some of these stories were written before the civil rights movement, and reading them long after the civil rights movement. I mean, I was a child during the civil rights movement. There still seemed to be in the late 70s, early 80s, a tendency to refer to people of color in a derogatory manner, and to also portray women as lesser than men. And so reading this, when I read it, didn't raise any red flags. But boy, I'll tell you what, it raises red flags now, because we have moved. TARDIS, shush. Because we have moved forward. Still a long ways to go, but we have moved forward. And what was comfortable reading then is not comfortable reading now. Excuse me, just a second. TARDIS, I want you to hush. No. Hush. Okay. So that's my story about that story. Next, we got two books by the Irish author Frank Delaney. I think there was one on my last shelf. That was called Shannon. This one is called Ireland. In the winter of 1951, a storyteller arrives at the home of 9-year-old Ronan O'Mara in the Irish countryside, the last practitioner of an honored centuries-old tradition, the Senchai, enthralls his assembled audience for 3 evenings running with narratives of foolish kings and fabled saints of enduring accomplishments and selfless acts, until he is banished from the household for blasphemy and moves on. But these 3 incomparable nights have changed young Ronan forever, setting him on the course that he will follow for years to come, as he pursues the elusive, itinerant storyteller and the magical tales that are no less than the glorious saga of his tenacious, troubled, and extraordinary isle. That one sounds wonderful. Is that your opinion of it? TARDIS, please. Please. TARDIS. Shush. Hush. Hush. Okay, she's being teased by her brother, which is the problem. And then also by Frank Delaney, it's Tipperary, another Irish novel. I won't read all of this. This is long, a lot of small print in a big book. But it's another Irish tale. That is Frank Delaney's genre, is writing about Ireland. And I got to take these stickers off, but look at that. I mean, this is a beautiful hardcover book. I mean, that cover is gorgeous, isn't it? And it was only $2. $2, and I can't believe that. But I did it. I bought it for $2. Anyway, another story of Ireland. I love Ireland. I would love to visit Ireland. I love reading about Ireland. So these books, I'm gonna say, I need to do a whole Ireland stretch. These books are Frank Delaney books. The two Edward Rutherford books that we talked about last video, and of course Trinity, which is one of my favorite books of all time. Dawn Powell is not as well known as she should be, from what I understand. I don't know. I haven't read this book yet. This is 3 of her novels: Angels on Toast, The Wicked Pavilion, and The Golden Spur. And people have referred to her as the female F. Scott Fitzgerald. And those of you who have been with me for a while know that I love the works of F. Scott Fitzgerald. So I really should enjoy these based on that. And I need to prioritize this one, because I've had it for a while, and I keep seeing it, and it's like, okay, I'll get to it, and I need to just get to it and stop playing with it. And the last 3 books on this shelf are written by Anne Rivers Seidens, and I've read a few of her books, and every one of them I've totally enjoyed. One of them, which I have on this shelf back here, is her only horror novel called The House Next Door, and I believe my friend Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads is doing it as part of his 70s horror reading event. So go to his channel and check that out if you're interested. Anne Rivers Seiden is a great Southern writer. She just simply is a great Southern writer. This first book, called Colony, is one of them that I've read. I read this one by her. And it is a wonderful, wonderful story. Maud Chambliss, 90-year-old doyenne of Retreat, a summer colony in Maine, is waiting for her granddaughter to arrive and take her home at the close of the season. As she waits, she looks back on her rich life from the day she first arrived at Retreat as a 19-year-old bride, fresh from Charleston and clearly out of place in this enclave of aristocratic Bostonians. Through all the summers she spent there, and the love and tragedy, happiness and sorrow, friendship and enmity she experienced, she thinks of her husband Peter, consumed with the darkness of spirit, her children entangled in their own downward spirals of obsessive and unrequited love, her closest friend, neighbor Amy Potter, caught in a loveless marriage to the troublesome Parker, her mother-in-law Hannah, the proud dowager who taught Maud that it is the women who hold the power and possess the strength that will keep the colony intact, and Micah Willis, a native and ultimately Maud's truest and most constant friend. Maud's reminiscing captures the essence of the lifestyle that is fast fading away, and in an attempt to ensure the colony's future in the spirit of past generations, she passes the legacy of endurance of her fragile life to her granddaughter, beginning the cycle anew. And it is just a wonderful, beautifully written book. About, she, like I said, she gets to this retreat brought there by her husband when she's 19 years old, and she is not of the material that the people of Retreat are made of, if you know what I mean. She is lacking, and mother-in-law is not impressed, and she has a battle winning her place among the people of this small community called Retreat. It is a wonderful, wonderful read. This is one of hers that I haven't read yet, Low Country. Beautiful cover. No, I'm not going to read all of this. This is another one in tiny print. Um, but it is probably just as good as all her other books, and I'm sure I'll like it when I get to it. Um, Again, that's just too much to read right now. We're already at 25 minutes. And then another one that it's supposed to be one of her best. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard a lot about it. Is a book called Up Island. And again, I'm looking forward to it. Last time we did this for the last shelf, there was one of her books, Burnt Mountain, that was on that particular shelf. And I gotta really, once I get through this and finding all the books I have, I need to organize them, put all the Anson River Sidons together, all the Frank Delaney's together, and those are my discoveries for this particular bit of content. There's some wonderful reading here. I just like, why do I need to buy any new books? I have all of these wonderful books to read. That being said, I just bought Cleat by James Lee Burke as a buddy read to do with Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics. But first I have to finish Dies the Fire, which I am almost done. I got like that much more to go. That one was a chunker. It's taking me a little while to read it, but it is a really good book, and I will be talking more about it at another time. Hoping that a lot of people will pick it up and read it because it is a thrilling read. But that's it for now. Again, I am so glad that you chose to spend your time with me. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And also, if you think you've subscribed, check, because I know there are times it's happened to me, and I heard in another video recently that it's happened to some others, where you think you've subscribed. Well, you have subscribed, but for some reason YouTube flips it off, and well, flips it off means something else, but you know what I mean. They unsubscribe it for some reason, and you have to resubscribe. I know me with Reading This Life with MJ. Excuse me, indigestion. It happened several times when I first subscribed to her channel, and I had to just keep subscribing. So please, if just double check, make sure you are truly really subscribed. And new subscribers, come on board. We'd love to have you. It doesn't cost anything. You get notifications when I put up content, and since my content's erratic, that's a good thing to have because it's not like there's a schedule you can go by. And hit the like button, the thumbs up, hit that one, because that just helps the algorithm. It brings focus to my channel, and my videos get recommended by YouTube, and it's just a great thing to help any content creator's channel. If you watch a video, give it a thumbs up. I'll be honest. Even if I come across one that's mediocre, and I'll still give it a thumbs up just to help the person's channel. And comments. You know how much I love comments. Well, the new people here for the first or second time probably don't, but I love comments. I've had some great conversations recently in the comments on a couple of my uploads, and I just love having those conversations. So please leave comments, and because I get to know you guys better, which is a wonderful thing. And that's it for now. And I've got a couple of tags I've got to do. Probably not going to get them filmed today, but maybe tomorrow, or tomorrow or Monday. Yeah. So that's it. I'm going to get this right now and say goodbye before it hits 30 minutes. Bye.